Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us for our School of Theater and Dance Theater and Musical Theater student live Q&A. We're so excited to welcome you, whether you're someone who's been admitted artistically and academically to the School of Theater and Dance, to the Theater and Musical Theater program, whether you're someone who's interested in double majoring or minoring in theater, whether you are someone who wants to continue to have theater and musical theater be an important part of your life once you come to college, or if you're the family member of one of our admitted students who's helping them make this decision at this time. We're very excited to welcome you and to introduce 4 of our theater and musical theater current students to answer your questions live during this session. We also have several of our theater and musical theater students joining us in the comments panel, so please feel free to introduce yourself during this session and they will be answering your questions as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Belle Nicholas, a junior musical theater major who will be moderating our panel this evening. Belle, you can take it away.
Hi, we are so happy to have you here on this Choices panel with us today, and we're excited to tell you everything we can about our program and answer any questions you might have. Like Sheena says, my name is Belle Nicholas. I'm a junior musical theater major and also a Spanish minor, and I am from West Deptford, New Jersey. And here are other panelists.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I am a sophomore musical theater major and also a theater minor. And I am from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Brianna B. Hopkins. I'm a sophomore double major with theater and health sciences and an honors minor, and I'm from Woodbridge, Virginia.
Hi, I am Ben Steinhauer. I am a sophomore theater major from Portsmouth, Virginia, and my area of interest is theater design tech.
Great. So we're going to start off with our first question, which is, what kind of opportunities are there to work on productions during your first year as a theater or musical theater major?
So I would say, first of all, there's a lot of opportunities when you first come to JMU. It's not a school that prevents freshmen from being involved, which is really fantastic. There are main stage productions that you can audition for right when you get to campus, usually that first week. There's also usually 3 to 4 studio theater productions that are directed by students that you can also audition for. And there's also other opportunities with design tech that I'm sure Ben will talk about in a bit. And then there's also other opportunities to perform, such as in independent student directed projects, or even in films. There's a lot of theater majors who do participate in the films as well. So I would say that if you are interested in being involved and you choose to be involved in your first semester, you definitely will find some sort of opportunity if you choose to seek it out.
So all of the studio theater productions, there's about 3 to 4 of them. Those are all student directed, student produced, student designed, and anybody can audition for those. And you can audition for them right off the bat if you want to. I know I did, and I was just really glad that I was in the room going into it, even if I didn't get anything. But I also participated in some of the workshops that we have. We have about 3, 4, 5 workshops a semester, which are like student produced 2-week rehearsal periods that you just try to get up on your feet, and they're pretty fun. So yeah.
Yeah, I ended up having a really busy production schedule for my first semester on campus. I ended up being an assistant designer on our very first main stage musical of the year. And then through coursework and other requirements, you will be, if you're seeking them out, put into design tech opportunities to try things out. And the way it really works is as soon as you get to campus, there's a need for all of us artists to be working. And then one opportunity will just lead to the next, and you'll be busy all 4 years if you choose to do so.
Yeah, I think the second I stepped onto campus, I was very excited to get involved in any way I could, even if it wasn't performing, which is my main area of interest. My first semester, I worked on a workshop, which was only supposed to be 2 weeks, and it wound up being the entire semester. And it turned into a devised site-specific work, which was really, really fun. And I'd never been exposed to anything like that before. So I think the best part about the opportunities that you're granted at JMU is you can explore so many things you never thought you would explore. And that happens the second you step onto campus.
Yeah, I would also add that there's a lot of really great understudying opportunities for people looking to perform as freshmen. So my first semester, I was an understudy in a musical that was in the studio theater. So that's another great way to kind of, dip your toe in the water and get used to what it's like to be in shows at JMU.
Great. So let's move on to our second question, which is, can you talk about the studio theater show season?
So we kind of touched on this a little bit before, but the studio theater show season is usually 3 to 4 shows. It's in the experimental theater space, which is a flexible space in Forbes that can be adapted to any sort of configuration, which is really exciting. And as noted before, it's directed by students, it's designed by students. Students obviously then also perform in it. So it's completely run by students, which is really exciting. I particularly really love the studio theater space and the studio theater season. I directed a piece, new work in the studio theater back this past fall, and I hope to continue directing in the studio theater. It's a really great place to experiment with new work, with pieces that your fellow students have written. It's also a place that sees a lot of musicals and plays that people are both familiar with and also are not quite familiar with yet, that maybe might be a little more under the radar pieces that are really exciting. But basically, if you're interested in proposing, you just go through this process where you write down all this information about the show and your concept for the show, and then it goes through a sort of vetting process with both the students and the faculty, and then at the end, usually 3 to 4 shows are selected. And as noted before, it's a really great opportunity for particularly freshmen and sophomores to get involved in acting in those pieces. Because there are so many pieces that go up every semester, there's usually a lot of underclassmen who get opportunities in performance in the studio theater.
Yeah, and all the auditions are pretty interesting. For one of them, I had to read a poem, and then they told me to do it again in like acting like a squirrel on the quad. So the students can get really creative. It's just a fun opportunity to just get your name out there, meet new people. I actually got cast in one of the shows last semester as a swing, which was really exciting because I understudied for 6 different parts, and I had to learn all of their parts, and it was really stressful, but it was a good opportunity to get myself out there and get out of my comfort zone. It was really fun.
Yeah, the studio theater is a fabulous space, especially I think for design tech students, because every single person that as we've said before, that's working on the production is a student. And so the process of getting involved is really quite simple, where we have one important meeting per semester where everyone is interested in having any design tech role just shows up. We have bagels and coffee, and you chat with the directors and just put your name out there and see who's interested in you and what productions you may end up being a good fit for. And so it was really kind of an incredible experience for me for my first studio theater show to look around the room during load in or during tech and not see a single non-student in the room, which I think is a really special experience, and just goes to show you that there are so many ways that you can get involved in anything, maybe even something that you haven't tried before. The studio theater is a great way to test it out and see how you do.
Yeah, I'll say I love the studio theater from the moment that I saw my first show, which I don't know if anyone knows it, but it was Revolt, She Says, Revolt Again, which I thought was amazingly directed. And I just wanted to work in the studio theater space so badly. And it's amazing. It's so flexible. You can put it in different configurations, which is wonderful. My first studio theater show was The Wolves by Sarah DeLapp, and we had it in Alley, and it was so fun. And there was turf on the stage, and we played soccer in the black box space, which was so fun and very interesting. And as well as that, I've also had opportunities to work on the tech side in the studio. I was a mic runner for Bear Pop Opera my first semester of my sophomore year, and it's a very good space to volunteer and learn some skills that you didn't think you would have. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a mic runner for that production, because now it's a skill that I can take into the professional world that might make me hireable if I didn't have it. So, third question. What was your favorite production at JMU as an audience member or a participant?
Well, my favorite production was probably the production I directed back in the fall. It was called Forever You and Guys, and one of my friends, Luke McCoy, he wrote this play. It started off as a scene from the advanced playwriting, or from the playwriting class, and then it developed into a larger piece, which received a workshop, which was Bea talked about the earlier, which is a 2-week process. And then I saw that workshop and I really loved it. And then Luke and I got together and we decided to propose that show for the studio theater, and then it went through, and then we got to produce this full kind of seen through production, which was really exciting to be able to see that kind of go through the phases until it was finally a full production. So that was my favorite experience, was directing that in the fall.
My favorite production was probably Everybody last fall, because there was 5 of the characters that got a new a new place a new character. 5 of the actors got a new character every night, and they had to like memorize all 5 of them, and even the audience didn't know who they were going to be, and they didn't know who they were going to be. So it just like felt like this whole chance kind of thing, and it was just like a mind-blowing production. If you haven't heard of it, you should read Everybody. Yeah, it was just really cool, and then it connected to our theater histories class, and I really liked making those connections.
Yeah, my favorite opportunity came last spring when I got to be the assistant projections designer for our main stage musical, American Idiot. And that was really, really cool for me because I got to play a large part in the design and creation of this production while working with professionals from all over the industry. And so to see a show of that scale be produced in our building by our students with assistance from professionals and from faculty was really just an incredibly rewarding experience, because the end result was kind of, in my opinion, mind-blowingly large in scale and exciting. And so to know the stories behind why we made these different choices and that I had a voice in helping to make that production happen was really, really gratifying.
Yeah, I love every show I see at JMU. It's so wonderful to see your friends and your professors put so much work into such an amazing piece of art, and what the final product is the best part. But my favorite show was Stained Glass it was written by Ingrid DeSanctis, who's one of our professors. She works in directing and playwriting and acting, I think. Yeah. And the play was just beautifully written. It was relatable in the sense that there was a lot of themes that I felt like I connected to, and on top of that, the set was gorgeous and the actors were just so committed, and I loved that production. That was my favorite by far. Okay, so moving on, what were some of the reasons why you chose JMU over other possible programs?
Well, one thing that I really love about JMU, and is the reason I chose it, is because they really encourage people who come there to be artists in lots of different areas of theater. So coming into college, I knew that I had interests in performing, but also in directing and in design and in other elements. And that was something that I know JMU faculty really valued, and they really communicated that to me in my interview. So I ended up choosing them because they wanted someone who, is interested in learning about all these different components, not just someone who, has tunnel vision, is only focused on one thing. So I really appreciated that about the program. And also, it's such a beautiful campus. It's such a wonderful community. people are not at each other's throats. They're not super competitive. We're all doing what we love and we're all supporting each other. So it's a really supportive, beautiful community that is there for each other, which is really special.
I ultimately chose JMU because of the people. When I went into my audition, everyone was just so supportive and so kind and just wanted me to succeed. And that stayed true until I was even now. Everyone's just always trying to help each other out, always so loving, want to support each other. And Forbes is like a community with everybody. So that's my favorite part still. So that's why I chose JMU.
Yeah, for me, the decision really came down to two factors. One of which we've kind of touched on, which is the people. That can't be overstated enough. And the second reason for me was the incredibly high quality of education that I'm receiving in the theater and the incredibly high quality opportunities that I have as a student. Because I know for a fact that I'm going to walk out of JMU, not only with the connections from the people that I've made, but also with a training that is just as good as anywhere else that you're going to find. So why not do it in a place where the people are going to be supportive and really help you grow in whatever you personally need, as opposed to being, part of a competitive program that is more contentious, that just didn't really interest me much at all.
Yeah, the second I stepped onto JMU's campus, I toured the spring of my junior year of high school, and I walked onto campus and I was like, okay, this is where I want to go. I hadn't even been in the Forbes Center. I hadn't met any theater majors or musical theater majors. I just knew that I was like, this feels like the right place for me. And it was because of the energy that you feel the second you meet people and step onto campus. You walk on the quad and it's like, wow, these people love being here. And that was something I was looking for. And again, like the people are just so full of love and support at every corner, whether it's your professors or your classmates. They're always looking to support you. And also, I really was looking for a BA program, which I know that some people would rather have a BFA than a BA, and that's up to you. I think that a BA program offers a lot of opportunities to explore yourself as a human being and things outside of the theater world, which you need to learn about in order to inform the work that you're making. So those were the things that stuck out to me when I was looking for schools, and that's ultimately why I chose JMU over other programs. I guess we can build off of that. Were any of you considering BFA programs, and why did you ultimately choose a BA program?
So I was considering actually mostly BFA programs, and I ended up going with a BA program, which I'm so glad I did. And there's a couple reasons behind that. I think the big thing for me, which Belle kind of touched on before, was the importance of a general education. I think as artists, you really need to understand the world, and you need to understand things outside of the theater. You need to understand, politics, and you need to understand history, and having those informations really informs your art. So like this semester I'm taking a history class, and I was sitting in history class and we were talking about colonialism in Africa. And there were a lot of things that they were talking about that then gave me a huge concept for a costume design I'm working on in my costume design class. So, a lot of our professors say there's always this like integration of gen eds and theater. And I feel like the product is a lot of really, really smart theater artists who know a lot about theater, but also know a lot about the world in which we are living and the world in which we are making theater for. And so, so I ended up going with the BA program, I think for that reason.
I considered it for a second, but ultimately I wanted to double major because I wanted to be in the health field and the theater field, so a BA program was just best for me.
Yeah, I certainly looked around at lots of different programs, BFA, BA programs. And ultimately, the reason that I chose a BA was because ever since I was a little kid, I had a dream of going to college at a big public university. And so as soon as I stepped onto JMU's campus, I got that sense. I can go to a football game on Saturday. I can, have the diverse experience of being in a large gen ed and then being in a smaller theater class. And so the combination of the incredible theater training and the real, like, honest, university experience was just the perfect combination for me.
Yeah, similar to Ryan and everyone else, I was looking at mainly BFA programs, but that's because most of the programs that people look at are BFA programs off of that when you hear about other schools. But JMU has a BA program that sets up sort of like a conservatory, at least for musical theater in terms of training. So I knew that I could get that conservatory style training, but still be learning and informing my work and also growing as a human being through the classes I was taking. I have, in every gen ed I've taken, I've found some way to connect it back to theater, and that's because the bottom line is that theater is about being a human being, and that's what you are first. You're a human being and then you're an artist. And I think that JMU's BA program highlights that really well. So what does a typical day look like as a freshman theater or musical theater major?
I think it really depends on, first of all, what year you are in, and there certainly is a lot of choice. For freshmen. Well, for freshmen, I can speak to musical theater majors. Typically, you have a dance class or two, which is based on where you place into dance and where you are with your dance journey. So I started in a lot of beginning dance classes my freshman year. And then typically you'll take a basic acting class, you'll take an MT or a musical theater performance class. And then a lot of times you'll also be able to take some other classes such as design aspects, performance analysis, a lot of classes that are kind of the required coursework you get out of, well, not out of the way, but you start working on your freshman year. And then as you advance and you get older, you have a little more choice in your schedule. But typically, at least for musical theater, I found that freshman year, I took most of my classes with the rest of my musical theater group. And so we were in a lot of similar classes. And now as we've aged, we've started being able to choose more electives.
For the first year, you want to get a lot of your gen eds out of the way. So I took about 3, I think, first semester. And then I took basic acting and performance analysis because they chose those classes for me. I'm glad that I got those out of the way because I really wanted to start acting right off the bat. And then I guess we went to the dining hall. We went to Wayland, that's where I lived. We got to explore campus, go on the bus and things. So yeah, it was pretty free days most of the time.
Yeah, I sometimes joke with different people that at JMU, I feel like it's a realistic balance of what some of your first years out of college might be like in this theater world, where like I'll wake up, go to a gen ed, go get some breakfast, maybe go to another theater class, go to another gen ed. And then as the day kind of moves along, as I get into the evening, it's starting to be more theater heavy. So on Wednesdays, we have a theater colloquium class that will go a little into the evening. Or I might be in the scene shop for some hours that I'm working to help build whatever show we're working on. And then we get into like a rehearsal or a tech rehearsal or performance thing at night. And so I feel like it's kind of a fun cycle of like, all right, I wake up, I go do some classes, get some lunch, and then I head over to Forbes and I'm there for most of the afternoon. And if we're in a production, into the evening.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is pretty similar to the other 3 panelists. I found that I loved my days as much as I loved my nights. Like I never felt like I was doing too much work that I couldn't balance everything. And I found that I had time at night to, watch a movie with my friends or go to the gym and take an exercise class. Like I still found time to be a human being outside of studying theater, but at the same time, like any given week, if it's during audition season, you could be going to 3 auditions a week at night. And that's part of what makes it so great is that you have the opportunity to do things like that and to get out in front of people and practice your craft. So yeah. So this next question is directed specifically at musical theater students. So I think Ryan and I can have a pretty good perspective on this because we're pretty on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to this question. So the question is, what do dance classes look like in terms of structure and level integration, and also are extra lessons available for those who haven't been taking classes for long?
Yeah, so we are on very different ends of the spectrum with this. There's a base level of dance that you have to take. So jazz and musical theater styles, and then like a ballet or a tap class. So from my end, I came into it with not a ton of dance experience. So I took my first semester, I took beginner jazz and beginner ballet, and then my second semester, I took intermediate jazz. Last semester, I took intermediate jazz again, not because I failed it, but because I just wanted to do it again to get better at dancing. And then this semester, I didn't take a dance class. And next semester, I'll take MT styles, and then I'll probably be done dancing. It's just not my thing. But it's nice because if you don't love dancing and it's not something that is really of the utmost importance to you, you can take what I did, which is those 3 or 4 classes and be done. However, I'm kind of, I think, in the minority on that. Other people I know take 2 dance classes a semester, which I'm sure Belle will talk about being a little heavier on the dance side.
Yeah, so I started dancing when I was 2 years old, so I came in with a lot of dance experience. So I off the bat placed into intermediate level classes. So my first semester I took intermediate jazz and intermediate ballet. And then from there I retook intermediate ballet and intermediate jazz. And then my second semester of my sophomore year, I started taking advanced classes. I also am a tapper, so I started off in intermediate tap, and then my second time taking intermediate tap, I was the TA. So in terms of if there's extra classes available outside of and extra lessons outside of the dance classes you're in, a lot of dance classes actually have TAs, and you can ask your TAs to meet with you. There's also students who will hold classes at night that you can take. I've held one before, and I know it used to be a little bit more popular, but it happens after show season most of the time because we're working on shows. So there are opportunities, and also if you are friends with any of the upperclassmen, normally they'll be willing to help you out. And I guess that's what I'll say on that. There's a lot of opportunities to take dance classes, and you do wind up sometimes repeating taking classes. And once you get to your junior year, everyone takes musical theater styles no matter what level you're at in dancing, but it's pretty structured toward the middle of the group. So I don't really think anyone's ever lost in dance classes because we try to put people in a place where they feel that they're comfortable and will be improving the most. Okay, so the next question is, could anyone talk about some of the work study opportunities, what it's like, and how does it work? I don't know if anyone's done work study.
So I
I
have
have
not.
not.
I have not done a work study, but I am an employee of the department. And the positions that I hold could be a work study type of position. So all of our productions are on the tech side. The scenery is built by students, the lighting is hung by students, the sound equipment is set up by students, the costumes are sewn by students. So there are student interns managing in every avenue of that. So one of the ways that we as a BA program are able to put up these impressive productions is because of the student workforce that we have and the skilled student workforce that we have. So it's really, once you kind of get into some of your intro tech classes, which everyone will take as a freshman, it is really easy to transition into getting paid for that work, or you could transition it into a work study.
B, did you have something to say?
I mean, there's also work study like at the library, at SSC, Student Success Center, or at the dining hall. There's a whole list on them if you qualify for work study, and they give you really accessible links for everything to apply and everything. So it's not hard to find. and I think people kind of like it. So they make friends. So yeah.
Yeah, I've never done work study. I know my friend Gemma, she works in the Lisenby Library, which is the library in the School of Theater and Dance. It's full of anything you need theater in terms of plays and those sorts of things, and anyone can go and read something within the library. So she does that. I don't know if it's a work study, but she does work for the School of Theater and Dance in that capacity. My friend Anna Denoya, she has a work study, and I know she loves it. What she does is she works after class downtown in Harrisonburg at a place, I don't know what it's called, but it's an after school theater program for younger adults and children in the Harrisonburg community, and she helps them put on plays, and it's just an after school opportunity for children in the Harrisonburg area. I know she loves doing it. I don't know entirely what it entails, but that's about all I can offer on that topic. Yeah, sorry that we can't be more helpful. I don't know if there's anyone in the comments that can answer that question for us. So, can you talk about musical theater opportunities for non-majors and theater minors?
So, I mean, yes, there are opportunities. Maybe B can expand on this as we're the MTs, but there's a class that you can take that's taught. This last semester was taught by Jacob, who's one of our MT professors. And so non-MTs can take that MT performance class. And Belle, I think then some of them have transitioned into some other classes as well with MTs.
Yeah.
So you can take MT performance related classes, and you can certainly also get into dance classes as well. And then even in our last show, which Belle and I were just in, Sideshow, which was our main stage this season, our big main stage musical, we had a lot of theater majors in that particular production as well. So we do have some musicals on the main stage that are pretty diverse in terms of MTs and non-MTs. And then again, it doesn't happen frequently, but when there is a musical in the studio theater, those casts are usually very diverse. There's usually a lot of theater majors in those musicals.
Yeah, for non-majors or for minors, anybody can audition for the studio shows or the main stage shows. So those are pretty open to anyone. So that's just an opportunity for them. And then dance classes, you have to talk to your advisor about it, but pretty much anyone can take it. I've had classes with non-majors all the time. Like half the class was in Forbes, half the class wasn't. So Forbes is open to pretty much anybody.
Yeah. Ben, do you have anything to add?
Not for musical theater. That's not my area.
So yeah, like B and Ryan said, there are opportunities for everyone and anyone on campus to audition for the main stage musicals and the studio theater shows and the workshops. But in terms of training, there are a lot of opportunities to receive that training. Yeah, I have a couple of theater majors and a couple of music majors in my advanced musical theater class right now, which is really nice to have some other faces in the room and to get to work with people outside of the program, even though I love my classmates. But it is nice sometimes to add some new people in and just see how the dynamic changes. There's also opportunities, like Ryan said, there is a musical theater performance class that's open to non-majors. There's also a class in the School of Music that is similar to the group voice class that freshman musical theater majors take, that's taught by, or it has been in the past, been taught by Scott Zane Smith. And you can get voice training that way. It's also possible to get into a private studio with a voice faculty member, which you can arrange through a voice faculty member, as well as a lot of graduate students in the School of Music will offer voice lessons. And there's also opportunities to perform in musicals outside of JMU in the Harrisonburg community and close proximity, there is the Court Square Theater downtown that does musicals sometimes, and there's also the Wayne Theater in Waynesboro that allows for anyone to audition as well. So you, in the Harrisonburg area, you don't have to be a musical theater major to participate in musical productions. So again, directed to musical theater. With the 3 elements of musical theater, singing, dancing, and acting, would you guys say JMU is more central, or does the program gravitate towards one of the 3 components?
I don't think it particularly gravitates towards one over the others. I think they're all really valued. I think people, the professors at JMU are really interested in helping us to be diverse artists who know how to do all these things. But with that being said, we also get a lot of personal choice. So, you know, if you're an MT, you have dance classes you have to take. You have voice lessons that you have to do. You have acting classes you have to take. But if you're an MT like me, who's more interested in the, you know, acting side and less interested in the dance side, you know, I'm taking my basic dance classes and then that's enough for me. And then I'm choosing to take a lot more acting classes. And I'm choosing to take a lot more theater analysis and directing classes. So there's a lot of choice based on what you're more interested in. And if you really like dance, you know, you can choose to craft more of a dance-centered approach and you can take more dance classes. And that's what's really great about a BA is you have the freedom of choice about what classes do I want to take, you know, and what do I want to really focus in on and zero in on in terms of topics for my education.
Yeah, I entirely agree with Ryan. I don't think there's any one part of musical theater that we say is like, this is the thing you have to do to be successful. You have to do all 3 things in some capacity. Even if you're not the best at every single thing, it's important that you have training in all of them. So, you know, if you come in and you're a singer first and you haven't danced a lot, you can choose to pursue more dance training so that you can even yourself out or whatever your plan is. But it's important to note that any class you're in, it's emphasized that you are more than just an actor or a singer or a dancer. You're all 3 at all times. So I think that is, again, like the great thing about a BA program is you can choose what you want, but you're also reminded that you have to study all 3 in some capacity at some point. So I think this is a good question for all of us. I would love to pursue a minor or certificate in addition to the JMU musical theater or theater BFA. It's BA, sorry. Could any panelists speak to the possibility of accomplishing that?
Yeah, it's very possible to take a minor or a certificate or even double major. I came to JMU with a lot of different interests, and so I thought I would minor in political science, and I thought I would minor in English, and then I thought I would minor in sociology. And then I ended up also declaring a certificate in theater education, which after working with children over the summer, I decided I was going to drop in the fall. But with that being said, it can definitely be done. I personally found that the classes I wanted to take most in terms of extracurriculars were theater classes. I wanted to take costume design and directing and scenic design and different analysis classes. So I found that because I was interested in all those theater classes, I ended up declaring a theater minor, which is kind of weird to be a musical theater major with a theater minor, but apparently as of last week, it's now possible. But yeah, it is very possible. And I think frequently happens that people do declare minors or certificates or even a double major.
Yeah, definitely. Being a double major, I would say it's challenging, but you have to be organized and be on top of your work at all times. But it's very doable. The theater major isn't that intensive, so you definitely can take pick up a minor and you'll still graduate on time. I'm still going to graduate on time with a double major, so it's definitely doable.
Yeah, the required coursework for the theater major allows you flexibility. And so some people choose to use that flexibility and that extra number of credits that they have to fulfill to graduate in theater classes in areas that they're interested in, but it's just as possible to use those for a minor, certificate, or double major.
Yeah, I agree. It's very possible. I'm a Spanish minor. I've never had trouble taking other classes outside of musical theater major. So is JMU's program diverse in terms of gender, race, sexuality, ability? And if not, what initiatives have you seen at JMU or that other students are taking?
I think we are in some respects a diverse program, and I think in other respects there's work that still can be done to be a more diverse program, which is, I think, something that the faculty recognize. And I think it's something that in recent years they've been working hard to work on. Specifically, I think we've seen that in our season selection choices. We've been doing a lot of shows as of recently that are more diverse shows. So for example, the show that was supposed to happen right now, which has obviously been canceled, was The Hungry Woman, a Mexican Medea, which has a Latinx cast. And so I think shows like that we're choosing from different cultures, from playwrights that identify in different ways. That's one thing that we're doing to try to draw a more diverse group of people to audition. And I think in some ways we're achieving that. I think in other ways we still admittedly have work to do.
I feel like it is pretty diverse with gender, and they have been admitting more diversity with race in regards to that. I feel like the students are all recognizing this more and are trying to take a stand. And one of the students last year, Emmanuel Kikoni, he had a workshop of a musical. What was the name?
Venice.
Venice.
And he was just really passionate about that one, and I think that kind of opened everyone's eyes to see like how we need to be more diverse as a program, and I think we're really working towards that diversity and helping each other out more.
Yeah, I would agree with Ryan that the faculty have been working really, really hard to create a more diverse program. And one thing that I really value is that the faculty have actively included student voices in that discussion, not only to say, how can we make this program work better for all of you, but also how can we as the students learn from this? Season selection is a very big question at many theaters all over the country and all over the world right now. And so having an opportunity as a student to have the tough discussions and be in the room when these decisions are being made is a way that I think the faculty has really used diversity as a learning tool in always trying to strive towards greater diversity in our program.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we're trying our best to fix any issues we might have with diversity. There's a lot of discussion amongst the students about ways that we can handle these issues, and they've been brought to the faculty and there's been meetings about it. One of the seniors started a group called Art and Race JMU that holds discussions every Wednesday about this exact issue. So there is work to be done to further diversity in our program, which I think is really great. So we're going to try to speed up our answers a little bit just so we can get to more of your questions because, yeah. So let's see. What specific acting methods are taught at JMU?
A lot. I think that, you know, there has been I'm currently in intermediate acting and we've done a lot of Meisner work. There's a special topics class, I think, in possibly there's a Stanislavski special topics class that once in a while is taught. There's a special topics class in Meisner that is taught on occasion as well. But I think it's less about one particular method and more about a culmination of many different methods. You know, what our acting teachers teach is what they've been taught, what they've learned, which is not one method, but it's what, you know, all these methods working together, which I think is what's more common these days, is kind of that integrated methods opposed to a method.
And they really they like the action method, which is action-based work, like action-based acting, where you choose like verbs and that's what you're going for, and you have a goal at all times. And that's something that pretty much all the acting professors have, and that's across the board. I'm really
Yeah, my basic acting class focused in Uta Hagen's method, which is action-based acting.
That
And I
one.
didn't know at all what it was, but now I do, and now I can use it in all of my work.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to learn different things. Like Ryan said, there are special topics classes. I'm currently in a special topics class called Theater of the Absurd, which was a movement in the 1960s. I should know that. A movement in the 1960s that dealt with a lot of nihilistic themes. And I don't know if you know what Waiting for Godot is by Samuel Beckett, but that's like the example of what Theater of the Absurd is. So outside of just teaching methods, there's also opportunities to explore different types of performance, such as like experimental theater is a class that we offer. And like I said, I'm in Theater of the Absurd. So there's a lot of different types of acting and methods of acting being taught at JMU. So I'm just going to direct this question to Ben because I'm pretty sure Ben lived in Wayland. Did you live in
Yes, I
Wayland?
did.
Okay. How was living in Wayland Hall and what was Arts 100 like?
Living in Wayland was probably one of the things that surprised me the most about JMU because I loved it so much. Wayland Hall, for those of you that don't know, is our living, learning arts community on campus. So we have an entire building in the Bluestone section of campus, and it's full of 125 freshmen arts majors across the entire College of Visual Performing Arts. And so Arts 100 is a class that you will take in your first semester at JMU. And it's you in a room with all the different people that live in Wayland, with about 50 of you in there working on different projects. The best thing that came out of me living in Wayland is now I have good, really close friends with people who are all across CVPA, College of Visual Performing Arts. And so that allows for some really interesting collaboration that would have never happened if I wasn't living with these people under one roof. So I would absolutely recommend living in Wayland if you're able. Don't be scared that it's a building full of arts people. It's just as warm and friendly of a community as Forbes is. And it's really probably one of my favorite experiences at JMU so far.
Yeah, I'd like to add that you don't have to live in Wayland. I loved living in Wayland. It's a great experience, but you don't have to live in Wayland by any means if you don't want to. I know, like, my best friend Rosie, she lived in Spotswood Hall on the Quad, but she was in Wayland all the time anyway, and she slept on my floor all the time. So you have an opportunity to be part of the Wayland community, even if you're not in Wayland, but Wayland's nice and it's air conditioned. So that's what I'll say about that. Okay. So I think this is the last question that we have today. So the question is, how does JMU prepare you for the business? Are there specific classes dedicated to career success, showcases, etc.?
It does prepare you for the business, and here's why. Really, the thing that JMU does that I cannot emphasize enough is so important is it creates multidisciplinary artists. It creates artists who, yes, have a focus in design or in acting or in, what have you. But because you're taking all these other classes and other elements of the theater, you leave JMU, yes, being really good at, say, performance, say musical theater, but also knowing how to sew and knowing how to direct and knowing how to, build something in a shop. And so this day and age, that's what I think makes people successful in this business is understanding all these different components. So, when you go to New York or you go wherever you're going to go, you might not get a job right away as an actor, but you might get a job, working in a costume shop or working front of house, which then will lead to getting in that audition room. So I think it prepares you because it makes you a multidisciplinary artist. In terms of specific classes dedicated to career success, absolutely. Every class you take at JMU, whether it's gen ed or theater, is going to help you be successful. But particularly your senior year, there is a lot of audition-based classes that you can take, both musical theater audition and audition techniques and strategies for straight acting as well. And so there are a lot of those classes that prepare you as you're a senior in getting ready to go into the real world. And also we do have a showcase. One thing that's great about the JMU showcase is, in addition to having a theater and musical theater showcase, they also have like a design tech component to their showcase, which I think is really special. And have been other people who've gone to showcase as like educators and directors and stage managers. So I think that's really a cool thing about the JMU showcase, is it's showing the world all of our artists, and really putting value on all of our artists, not just, performers. So
Yeah, I mean, everybody, all the professors really stress how being a good person in the business is really important. They stress the business all the time. They get you in the mindset, and that, I think that's something that's really special. They always share their experiences, which is firsthand, and that's really important to show perspective. All the classes always help you think about theater in a new way, a new perspective, and understand the different worlds of it. So I think that's really something that's helping us for the business and in the future.
Yeah, I'd say our faculty is our biggest resource in terms of being prepared for the business, because all of our faculty are currently working theater professionals. So it's not like they're retired from their profession, now they work at JMU. They're currently working theater professionals. I really kind of fully understood how they prepared us. Just this past semester, we got a new production manager named Brian, who's fabulous. And he picked up his whole family and moved to Harrisonburg to work at JMU. And so one day I went to lunch with him and I said, Brian, why would you do that? Why did you make that choice? And he said 2 reasons. Number one, Ben, the program at JMU has such an incredible reputation, and no matter where you go in the business, people want to hire JMU graduates. And the reason, number two, the reason that that's the case is because basically what JMU does is we have our program, our educational program, and then like on the side, we're basically running a regional theater. The Forbes Center is such a staple for performing arts in the Valley. It's really well known. We have acts come from all over, and all of our student produced work is completely produced by us. We're not outsourcing the work. We're not bringing in professionals to supplement or fill in where we don't have students to do certain aspects of the productions. So the fact that I can earn my degree and essentially have a large part in a regional theater while I'm doing that is going to prepare me better than I think anywhere else.
Yeah, I think to add on to those things, there are a lot of opportunities to audition for shows all the time, constantly. You have an opportunity to practice auditioning, which is so important to go out into the business. And on top of just auditioning for shows at JMU, JMU often brings in guest artists or guest companies to audition our students specifically for things such as the American Pops Orchestra, which happens in DC, Open Jar Institute, which I did last summer. It was a great experience, and that really prepared me for the professional world as well. So they're bringing in people to help train us for those things. And in terms of classes, yes, there's the audition class that you take your senior year, whether you're a performance concentrator or a musical theater major. Those 2 classes are separate, but they're both auditioning based classes. However, your whole entire education in musical theater, at least is what I can speak to, you are being reminded that you have to know what you want to do and how you're going to audition. You're being taught from the day you step onto campus. You create a 90-second package to go to audition conferences with. Right now, because of COVID-19, our scene study class has completely changed, and it's not possible to do scenes as much anymore. So now we're working on marketing ourselves and branding ourselves as actors and creating our websites and our resumes, learning how to write CVs and stuff like that. That's really helpful to go into the real world, which would normally be done in auditioning next semester, but now we're doing it. And it's great, and it's been so helpful to learn how to market myself as an actor and who am I and how do people see me. So I think that classes, on top of the people that they bring in for us to work with, are really great opportunities to prepare us for the business and help us ease into the real world outside of JMU. So that was all of our questions today. Thank you so much if you tuned in. We're so glad that we got to talk to you all and answer any questions you might have. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out and engage with us. We all are so willing to answer any questions you might have. So I'm going to throw it back to Sheena.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, thanks so much.
See ya.